Starmer has deceived us, and now the evidence has surfaced. The most shocking truth about him has been unveiled, and it's worse than anyone could have imagined. Think you know Starmer? Think again. We're about to expose information that could turn everything you've ever believed about this man on its head. From his questionable ties with the EU to his dubious defense agreements, nothing has been left hidden. Do you remember when Starmer declared he would respect Brexit? In reality, the Labour leader appears to be playing a double game regarding the EU. We all know he harbours a Remain mindset deep down, but this is a different story. Starmer has proclaimed that he accepts Brexit and is committed to implementing it, yet behind closed doors, the narrative is entirely different. We've obtained striking revelations about what Starmer has been saying when he thought the public wasn't listening. Imagine him seated in a plush Brussels office, engaged in cozy conversations with EU power players like Donald Tusk. Yes, Donald Tusk, the former president of the European Council, who has consistently argued that the UK should rejoin the EU. It's clear that Starmer has built a close rapport with these figures. We've received information from a private meeting where Starmer and EU officials held discussions, and what he said was jaw-dropping. He spoke of a strategy called Breton. Yes, you heard that right, Breton, a scheme aimed at bringing the UK back into the EU. What a way to respect the outcome of the referendum, right? But here's the most alarming part. Starmer was reportedly recorded discussing this Breton strategy with EU leadership. He laid out a step-by-step plan to gradually steer the UK back into the EU's fold. The starting point? A customs union agreement. On the surface, rejoining a customs union might sound harmless, but in reality, this would be akin to handing over control of our trade policy to the EU. It's a sophisticated strategy, but is this really what the British people want? Imagine giving someone your car keys and letting them decide where you go and how fast you drive. That's essentially what's at stake when it comes to our sovereignty and trade agreements. And don't even get me started on the disastrous consequences this could have for our economy. We fought hard to regain the freedom to negotiate our own trade deals with countries around the world. Yet now, if Starmer gets his way, everything could revert to square one, tying us back to the EU and stripping away our ability to secure the best deals for Britain. What truly enrages me about all this is the blatant deceit behind it. Starmer has paraded around with the slogan "Making Brexit Work," trying to appear as though he has accepted the reality, but now the truth is out, it was all an elaborate act. He treats us like fools, scheming and biding his time to return us to the EU's fold. If he's willing to deceive us on this, what other lies are being concealed? How many more hidden agendas does he have lurking in the shadows? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? But remember, EU betrayal is just the tip of the iceberg. The story runs deeper, and it only gets more troubling from here. Starmer might need to address a few things, though I doubt he'll appreciate the questions I'm about to raise. I've spent time digging into Starmer's recent activities, and frankly, something truly suspicious is going on with our national defense budget. What is Starmer trying to hide? Everyone knows the UK's commitment to NATO is clear-cut with transparent spending goals and defined agreements. Yet, Starmer has recently held a series of secret meetings with foreign defense contractors. Why all the secrecy? What exactly is he orchestrating behind those closed doors? A defense deal worth £8 billion with Poland has particularly caught my attention, and the numbers simply don't add up. Starmer seems to be playing fast and loose with our defense budget. While Starmer cozies up to these foreign contractors, our domestic arms industry is left in the lurch. British weapons manufacturers are increasingly uneasy as he appears more interested in forging ties with EU defense firms than supporting the industry here at home. Why is that? Things start to take a deeply concerning turn here. There's a troubling connection between Starmer's defense plans and his apparent aspirations to align more closely with the EU. He claims he wants to foster collaboration between defense sectors, but perhaps this is just a euphemism for a much larger scheme. Critics have raised concerns that these underhanded agreements could seriously undermine our strategic alliances with NATO. If Starmer continues to obsess over strengthening ties with major EU defense players, what happens to our NATO commitments? The real question is his true motivation. Recently leaked documents have painted a deeply unsettling picture of Starmer's agenda. He may be aiming to integrate the UK's armed forces into an EU army. Yes, you heard that correctly. Such a move could lead to profound changes for the brave men and women in our military. Picture this, British soldiers following orders from Brussels rather than their own commanders. This isn't just a theoretical concern, it's a direct threat to our sovereignty and the independence of our armed forces. If Starmer is willing to gamble with something as critical as our national defense, what else is he prepared to compromise? The consequences of these secretive maneuvers could be catastrophic, not just for Britain's place on the global stage, but for the very integrity of our nation. The time for vague assurances is over. Starmer needs to come clean, and the British public deserves to know the truth about what's being planned in our name. Our military risks being deployed to conflicts that bear no relation to our national interests, merely to align with the EU's priorities. This could lead to a severe rift in our relationship with NATO. Starmer seems to be playing a dangerous game with the very security of our nation. And what truly unsettles me is how all of this is unfolding in complete silence. Starmer constantly talks about fostering ties and enhancing cooperation, yet he never breathes a word about an EU army. It appears he's quietly laying the groundwork, hoping that by the time we realize, the situation will be irreversible. Integrating our military with the EU could have catastrophic consequences, meaning losing autonomy over military decisions. Our equipment and training could be standardized to meet EU requirements, undermining the unique capabilities that the British Armed Forces pride themselves on. This is nothing short of a betrayal, both of our armed forces and of our sovereignty. Let's shift gears to another glaring issue, Starmer's failures on border policy. He's always been vocal about cracking down on illegal immigration, hasn't he? But behind the scenes, there's been a cover-up at the highest levels. Starmer postures as tough on border control, but the reality tells a completely different story. Since he assumed leadership, we've seen a staggering 23,000 illegal channel crossings.
Why?
Because Starmer and his Labour allies rushed to dismantle the Rwanda Plan, a policy designed to curb these crossings. Instead, Starmer has seemingly rolled out the red carpet, and the results speak for themselves, a proliferation of asylum hotels springing up everywhere, something no one wants in their backyard.